Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the It's a Mind Game podcast. My name is Jade, and today I have my fabulous friend back, Claudia, or Nourished by Claudia, as you know her on Instagram. And I would love to do a long, lengthy intro on just how amazing she is, but I'm going to skip that part and just let her jump on in because I know you all know her very, very well.
Thank you for skipping that introduction. I'm so glad to be back. It's always a pleasure being part of this podcast and especially talking to you and to your audience. So thank you so much, Jade.
It's always a pleasure. And it's interesting though, every time we've got our session booked in, part of me is like, all right, let's get a nice productive podcast conversation in play. And the other part is like, let's have a bit of a catch up and talk about the ladies we've been working with and kind of this overhaul of, I don't know, life and HA and all the nitty gritties in between. So you might even be able to hear my smile with my voice at the moment. I feel like my cheeks hurt because I'm grinning from ear to ear, just having you here to talk to. But without me waffling too much, we did have a topic in mind, and it did stem from a few conversations we've had with clients, particularly after our last podcast. We had a bit of feedback of they love the kind and caringness of the podcast, but also that kind of tough love in regards to progressing through HA recovery and when it's time to sort of hold your horses and just stay where you are, find comfort, and also when it's time to saddle up and take charge. So I thought a nice carry on from that would be literally the responsibility that we have to heal HA as the person who's currently experiencing it and taking all the control that you can to make sure that you reach your end goal of having a period, having a family, eating without any restrictions or rules or negative emotions, and just living that fun, fertile, and flourishing life.
And I'm so happy that you have received those feedbacks because since we have been discussing them and reading them, we have come up also with new and different ways to implement the HA community and our program, the program that we are running together, to the point that we have added in accountability check-ins. We're thinking about having an accountability tracker. We're recording videos on a weekly basis just to make sure that the women are following the proven steps that really work in terms of getting the period back, but also in terms of letting go of disordered thoughts around food and training. Because if you're listening to this podcast and you have been in this journey for more than 2 years, well, I should say more than 6 months, let me tell you that it's definitely too long. And the best thing that you can do is actually stick to a person that you trust or a program that you trust and do the work. What do you think about this, Jade? True tough love?
No, I absolutely love everything that you're saying because it's literally truth bombs that you're dropping, which is one, thank you for the audience members that did reach out and give feedback, because as a result of that feedback, as you said, we've done some reflections and chats to clients and kind of like shape shifted the program. So we've still got similar principles at bay, but we've decided on ways that we can really amplify them so that women are feeling as though they've got the capacity to keep moving forward when they're feeling sort of stuck, and knowing that there's a level of encouragement and praise, but there's also a level of, I'm going to very, very gently put your hands on your back and slowly nudge you forward until we are where we want to be. And then I've lost my train of thought on the second part of what you said, but I think the taking charge and the responsibility of moving forwards was sort of the crux of it. My mind just went totally blank, Claudia.
It does happen, Jade, because we have been talking quite a lot before jumping on this podcast about all the new features of the HA recovery program and how to support our clients in the best way anyway. And also you were thanking the people that gave you so many valuable feedbacks, because the reality is that we tend to see clients on a weekly basis because the accountability is so important and can really shape and change the recovery journey. But if, for example, you are one of our clients and you show up for the accountability check-in without having made any change, my question normally is, what are you trying to get out of this check-in? Why are you showing up today? So the fact that you're still showing up today, it shows me that you're still prioritizing your recovery journey. And you're still telling your brain that that's really important, and that's fantastic. But on top of thinking about taking actions, we really need to take actions if we want to change the rest of our life and create the life that we really want.
Yeah, and something that actually presented itself in the last 24 hours with one of the women we both work with is the suggestion of no longer weighing themselves, so they didn't have that constant reminder of weight gain. And it's an interesting element of HA recovery, the weight gain side of things, because some women, it's literally throw out the scales, never look at it again. Other women are like, no, look, I know it's going to happen, but I just want to know what the numbers is. Like they kind of feel more control over the situation by just being aware of the number. And then other women are at a position where, no, I'm weighing myself absolutely every single day. And like, this is a must. And I can't see the number creep up. And that's sort of where they're stuck, because we do know that weight gain is a part of HA recovery. The amount you need to weigh in order to recover your cycle, we don't know, but there is definitely strategies and things that need to be implemented in the meantime to get you through, so that you can allow yourself to nourish without being, so terrified of this number on the scale going up. And I'm sort of stepping sideways to bring it back in, because the conversation with this client was the idea of, I should get rid of the scales, and I can. And I said to her, I'm like, but when is that going to happen? Because you could see she had the logical view. Well, if the scales isn't there, I can't weigh myself. She goes, oh no, I wouldn't throw it out for a little while. So even if you've got the conscious idea of, what you should take, if it's something that you can't do in the next 24 hours, you need to think of a different first step. Because you saying, I've got to throw out the scales, I've got to throw out the scales, I've got to throw out the scales, it makes you not even like this. It wasn't even a thought to actually implement it. It was just that's my future steps. It's not actually helping bridge the gap of moving forwards, because you're just thinking of something that you want to do, but now's not the right time. So in that situation, it was literally reducing the amount this woman was weighing herself throughout the week, so that she was learning that it was okay to not weigh herself every 12 hours, 24 hours, whatever her process was. And then we also sort of added in a fun goal of weighing herself, seeing the number, but then picking up something within the room and standing on the scales with it. Because then we're seeing what our weight is, but we know it's not our physical weight, because we know how scary it is to see particular numbers. But being able to distance yourself and literally take the emotion away and look down and go, okay, that's the number I'm absolutely terrified to see, but I can deal with it, and then throw it away, move on with your day. And where I'm leading to is just the responsibility that you have, either working on your own processes or working with a coach, is you need to be very clear on the steps that you're willing to take in the next 12 and 24 hours versus steps that you probably should take, but they're a month away.
And that's why our approach is so customized. And I normally start the conversation asking the person that is in front of me, what's the low-hanging fruit? What's the first step that you can easily take? Because we start with that first step. We make sure that we cement it, that we're never, ever going to go backward. And we add on top of that first step. But some women that come to me or get part of the Recovery from HA support group, and they simply say, I want to go all in. And my first question normally is, well, what does it mean going all in for you? Because going all in, it's so much different from every single person on planet Earth. So having a deeper understanding of what giving your all in or your 100% is can really make a difference. And before you decide to take the first step, also make sure that you understand why you're taking that first step. How is that going to change your life in a positive way? How taking the first step is going to shape your recovery journey moving forward? So these are all questions that you can obviously ask yourself, but sometimes it's very hard to have a conversation with the same brain that gave you hypothalamic amenorrhea and disorder behaviors in the first place, which is why it's very important to have a sounding board that may look like a professional, like a coach or someone that you trust and really deeply understand the problems that you're going through, that can help you break through your ingrained beliefs. Because as I said plenty of time in the past, your brain is doing two things. One is making you right and is trying to protect you. So sometimes there is no point in having an argument with your brain because it it's trying to prove you're right. And so if for 10 years you have decided to count calories or you have decided to step on the scale, when you decide to do something differently, your brain is going to say, hey, hang on, this is very important for us. This is how we have been surviving over the past 10 years. Why are you taking this away from me? I don't get it. And so that's an opportunity for you to actually speak to someone and come up with coping skills and a coping mechanism to go over this hurdle, if we want to call it that way. Does it make sense, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. And gosh, we've said it on so many episodes in the past. And it's a few other women that have joined on and shared their recovery journeys have too, where that conversation that you have with yourself in order to overcome these rules, these beliefs, these patterns, they can be pretty in-depth conversations because we know that our disordered self can be quite aggressive. It can not be welcoming to any kind of negotiation. And sometimes those conversations, literally with yourself, are all about caging this nasty creature that are leading you down a path of no good, but learning how to shush that voice. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we feel as though it's that voice that's got more power on us because it's sort of making us feel that way, that if we go against it, we're going to get in big trouble. And gosh, I guess the analogy is sort of popping up in my head at the moment is when you're a child and you know you shouldn't swear, right? And you might know all the naughty words, but you're like, oh, I better not say it because mom and dad will get me in trouble. But then when you first start swearing because you're a cool kid teenager at high school or something like that, you might remember the first time you swore and your parents went, you still kind of flinch, like, oh, I said something naughty, right? Because we've got that behavior that we've learned that if we say that word, we're going to get in trouble. It's something bad. And then over time, we swear a little, well, not everybody, but if you might notice that you swore a little more, or you said a word that you normally wouldn't be allowed to say, and then suddenly you slingshot yourself 5 years forward and you now say that word and you're not sitting there going, oh, mum and dad would not like that I said that word. You just say it because you've literally rehearsed a situation where the outcome wasn't as you perceived it. And when we're negotiating with our disordered self, it's somewhat the same. We're sitting there going, oh my gosh, it's going to get really loud. It's going to get really angry. But we are still the stronger voice. And if we can stand up to be like, no, and it's positive language really helps. I'm really excited to be eating this food today. I'm really excited to be going for a walk. I'm really excited to da, 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 da. It's hard for this angry voice to sort of kick in and take over when we're sort of squashing it with joy. And over time, just like the swearing sort of lost its intensity, your disordered voice will too. But you need to have those debates with yourself and those sort of flinchy moments for you to witness that, oh, hang on, we are okay. This is all right. I don't know if my analogy made any sense at all, but I'm hoping that it did.
Oh, well, literally, that's what happened when I started swearing when I was a little girl. So I was afraid of swearing. And then one day it just came out. And I was by myself in my room and it came out and I couldn't stop saying that specific word. So the analogy is perfect. And also from a real standpoint, it's exactly what happened to me. And exactly what happened to me also while going through the recovery journey, which is very interesting. I also have to say that 4 women that joined our program over the past 6 months got their period back in May, which was terrific. And with 2 of them, we really had to work on changing their training routine, their food intake, their sleep quality, and so on and so forth. But with the other 2, it was mainly about changing the conversations that I had with themselves, because there was lots of overwhelm, lots of frustration, especially coming from 10 years of not having a period. And they were doing all the things. They were ticking the boxes. They had already decreased the training. They already upped the caloric intake, but there was still that resentment, the why me situation. That was still the negative thinking, the deprecating thoughts. And simply by working on that, they managed to turn things around. Fantastic thing. happening in their life as well. So their relationship improved, and one of them got a new job as well. They accepted a new career that was much more suited for her lifestyle. And they got a period back, which goes to show that whenever we think, oh, meditation, affirmation, taking time off, mantras, they're like bullshit. And oh, sorry, I swore on a
No, it
podcast.
suits the theme. Go for it. Send it.
Exactly. But whenever you think, oh, this is not going to work, well, just give it a try. And if you have already tried everything under the sun, but you haven't tried that and you didn't give it enough time, well, maybe for you to try it once again. And if you don't know how, that's what we can help you with. Because when you say, okay, every single morning you have to say an affirmation like, oh, I'm beautiful. But that's not the whole thing. Like telling yourself that you're beautiful when you don't believe it, when your body doesn't vibrate when you say the words, it's very useless. I mean, yes, to a certain extent, there is that fake it till you make it. But we can also customize the affirmations so they're going to really work into reaching your specific goals in life, which they go way beyond getting your period back and getting pregnant, if that's one of them.
Yeah, and we've actually had that pop up with a few of the women, haven't we, Claudia, in regards to finding suitable mantras. So for some saying, you know, I'm beautiful and I love my curvy body and all these sorts of things feel really good for them. Where for others, they prefer to say something like, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm safe. So it's just this, and they do feel quite different. But for some, that happy, healthy, safe is a lot more comforting and believable than I'm beautiful, I love my curvy self, I da 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 da. And therefore, if you can find a mantra that feels more warming to you, you're more likely to practice it. If you genuinely feel uncomfortable saying a particular mantra, you're already doing enough uncomfortable things that you're not going to want to take on more. It's like, no, I just want to do what I need to get through this process, not lather it up with these self-professed affirmations and all the rest of it. And I'm glad you brought up that there is a threshold to it, because these practices absolutely do work, but there is an element of finding the level that suits you, because some women get right into it and get really descriptive and become, you know, that real female embodiment, and others, no, I like to keep it functional. Like, hey, I'm happy my legs allow me to walk. Like, I'm grateful my body does that for me. And that's what they need, though. That's the positive trait that they see in themselves, and that's enough for them to just move on and keep going forward. And then the other thing that I witnessed this week as well was the language around eating more, because we know we need to eat more, but those terms in itself can make us feel quite hostile, because for the longest time it's been eat as little as possible, or intermittent fast, or eat this particular way, that more weight gain, even the word nourishing, for some, it just kind of makes their skin crawl. It's like it just goes against every bone in my being. And then changing the language up to, I'm eating like a pregnant woman would, right? So if someone's pregnant, they're eating to nourish themselves and their child. And you might not be pregnant right now, but you know you want to be. And you suddenly saying to yourself, I'm going to practice eating as a pregnant woman would. I'm going to practice training like a pregnant woman would, so that by the time I am pregnant, I'm used to it. Well, guess what? If you're training and eating like a pregnant woman would, like a really healthy, flourishing one, that's your HA recovery. Like it's a balanced approach. You're eating a decent amount of food, you're resting when you need to, you're moving when you need to, and you're listening to your body. And the process in that situation is the same, but there's a big difference between I'm going all in, or I'm eating more and training less, and I'm eating like a pregnant woman, I'm training like a pregnant woman. And even when you say it, it just feels different. Like even as I say it to you, Claudia, I'm like, I'm eating more, I'm training less, and I can feel my body shift. And I say, I'm eating like a pregnant woman, and it feels glowy.
It feels much lighter. And I was really shocked when I recovered from HA and I then became pregnant, because I quickly realized that the HA recovery journey and pregnancy, there are so many similarities, starting from the initial nausea, the bloating, the disrupted sleep, moving on to gaining the weight, increasing the food intake, changing the meal timings, while decreasing the exercise, and also focusing on yourself, like taking care of your body, because you're nurturing yourself for the very first time, as there is another human being growing inside of you. So if you're watching this episode and your end goal is to get pregnant, then start treating your HA recovery journey as if it was your pregnancy. And also, I would like to go back to the affirmations just for a second, because something that I've discovered lately is that affirmations can be taken up a notch, meaning that for some people, they can be very straightforward. For example, I'm healing, I deserve to nourish myself, and that's it, they're done. For others, can be, I feel very feminine, I want to feel feminine, and it suits them. But I've recently discovered that for some women that have very deep ingrained behaviors that comes from decades of disorder eating, pairing the affirmations with an action can really give quicker results. So just to give you an example, this morning I'm gonna nourish my body because I wanna get my period back. And in order to do so, I'm gonna have breakfast before 8 a.m. So you know that there is the mantra, I'm healing myself, I'm recovering my period, but there is also the action attached to it. Mm-hmm. So in order to do so, I still need to take one step forward, because I don't like for women to sit back and thinking, okay, I just repeat the mantra and the healing is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not that simple. We need to take actions. So also finding way to change your affirmations and mantras so they can really give you that kick in the butt. It's another way for you to look at your recovery journey that maybe you didn't even consider because you have never heard of it before.
Yeah, and I love what you just said, and also that assessment of, have you turned over every single leaf? You know, because it's quite common, women will go, no, like I've done everything, and it's everything that they're willing to do right now. And this actually come up with an old friend. I started talking to when I first started this podcast. She's absolutely wonderful. I've never met her face to face, all Instagram DMs. But I love something that the way she shared it with me was, you know, Jade, I still can't wait for my period to arrive. I'm doing all the right things. I'm getting all the right signs. And she was like, I kind of tell myself I've been on this journey for a year. What's going on? But when I think about it, it took me 4 months to reduce my exercise. It took me 6 months to eat more. It took me another 2 months to take my exercise back another notch. And now that I'm looking at that year that's gone by, that I've been saying I've been doing everything, shows it's really only been the last month or two that I can honestly say I'm following what you would call somewhat of a HA protocol, in the way that I'm prioritizing sleep. I'm eating consistently all throughout the day. I think she's dropped down to just doing Pilates a couple of sessions a week. And literally, when she says, I'm giving this my everything now, it's a very calm tone of voice. She's very present with it. And you can see she's actually owning her situation. And I love that reflection, because a lot of women will go, I've been trying this for 6 months now and nothing's working, or 12 months. And then you talk about and discuss with them sleep, food, training, self-care, just self-talk for that matter. And when you actually go deeper than scratching the surface, you can actually see, okay, well, there is some wiggle room for our eating behaviors. There is some wiggle room for training. And now that we've opened up our eyes to what could be, are you actually giving this process your all? And for the most part, it's oh, no. And that's okay. I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. I'm saying that it's actually quite powerful to talk to people and professionals, especially if they know the HA recovery process, because once you can have the space held for you to really talk about the action steps you've been taking, and for someone to sort of help you assess how big of a step it was, or if the step's even being taken, it gives you a much better grounding as to where you're at. And wholeheartedly, is this your everything? Or are you just doing the best you can right now, but you know that you can do a little bit more soon? You just like, you are slowly moving through. Does that make sense? I feel like I waffled.
No, it does absolutely make sense. And also in terms of seeking help, I think that it's another thing that we really need to talk about and underline. Because if, for example, you have been in this for quite a long time and you're thinking that you're giving your all and you are reaching out because you know that you need the help, but you're still not investing in it, that's a sign most of the time that your disordered self is very present and it's loving to keep you stuck. And also the fact that you're still in this lingering position where, yes, you have reached out for help, but you haven't really committed to recovery, it means that you can still indulge in your behaviors, hoping for a different result, which is basically the definition of craziness. And I know that it's gonna sound quite harsh, but I also do believe that many women are gonna resonate with it because I see and I speak to them on a daily basis. Women that have been in this for a very long time, but they're still very reluctant to ask for help because asking for help requires making changes. Because once that you decide to invest in yourself, to spend the money, to invest the time in seeking support, then there is that extra push on actually implement the changes.
Yeah, and I find it a really interesting thought process, that idea of wanting the help because you feel like it could definitely push you forward and get things done, could go faster, more efficiently. But then that idea of you can't predict what they're going to suggest. And it's that, so now I'm scared to ask for help because I don't know what they're going to say. And I don't know if I'm going to want to say yes to what they offer. And then I've got proof that I'm not only letting myself down, but I need to face and tell someone that I don't want to do what they're suggesting. And I'm mainly bringing that to the forefront because we can really amplify that conversation before we've even had the opportunity to talk to the person whose help we're seeking. And I'm putting my hand up as the person who absolutely does this a lot. And so I hope by sharing this that other women out there, it'll just really make you think about what's holding you back from getting assistance when you own a position where you know you could get through something quicker, faster, more efficiently. And this goes for anything in life. It could be business, it could be school, it could be HA. Like, it doesn't have to be just HA right now. And I'd love to share an example, which has got nothing to do with HA. It's about a training program that I've decided to take on at the moment because I haven't actually started it yet, but I've been doing my own training for the longest time. And I thought it might be nice to just let someone else hold the reins and see how I progress, see what it's like to have a check-in with somebody, see what it's like to have someone observing my movement patterns and the weights that I'm pushing. And in my head, I'm like, yes, this is what I need. I need observation. I need feedback. I need to know that I'm doing the right things. And then I've purchased this program, and instantly my thoughts shifted to, but what happens if I don't have the equipment? What happens if I don't have the weight plate? What happens if they don't like my technique? What happens if they think I'm weak? And that whirlwind happened within 10 seconds of pushing a button. And I know this happens to women when they book in, say, discovery calls, where it's like, that's it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to talk to them. And then they press send to book in their free call or initial consult or whatever it is. And it's like, oh my gosh, what are they going to ask me? What are we going to talk about? And everything gets really fiery. And I'm really glad this experience happened, and it literally happened 24 hours ago, because it brought me back to what it feels like to ask for help. And sometimes, as much as you want it, as soon as you even ask 50%, and I say that because technology, we're clicking a button to book an appointment. We haven't officially received the help yet. We've just said, please talk to me. Instantly, our mind can just take over. And in that moment, I called my jets and I was like, okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna get this program. I'm gonna see what it has to offer. And then I'm either going to decide if it's the right thing for me or if I need to perhaps talk to somebody else. But either way, I'm going to learn something from this experience. And that's the attitude I had to take on to pursue the next step, which was to actually have a look at it and go from there. But linking that into HA recovery and just asking for help in general, if you're noticing yourself gesture help, if you're filling in an inquiry form, you're booking in a discovery call, you're sending an email, or maybe you've had one appointment, but you're just not sure about booking in the next because you can't predict what's going to happen, the best thing you can do is just stick to your plan. And if your plan is success, it's like, what's the best method to get me success? Is it the help of somebody else? Is it, I need to talk to this person because this person might lead me to another person because I know they're not going to work for me. So now I'm one person closer to the right one because I've dismissed someone, versus looking at the World Wide Web and seeing 1,000 people and being like, all of them could help, all of them might not. And I'm talking really fast as I say this because that's what our thoughts are like. As soon as we think of it and gesture it, everything just turns really shaky. So I would love for anyone listening to this episode right now, regardless of the kind of help you know you need or you think you could really benefit from, like it could just be that little bit easier with someone to have feedback, to someone to hold your hand, for someone to nudge you forward, please just let the whirlwind go to the side and just have that first conversation. Just allow yourself the freedom to be curious, to just hear what the person you're wanting to talk to has to say, to hear and let them in, and giving them the opportunity to see where they can take you.
Yeah, and especially give yourself the opportunity to do this, because every single time I'm going to take it up a notch. If you, for example, make the appointment, but then you don't show up, or you postpone it, or you cancel it, or whatever reasons you have to do so, you're basically telling your brain, well, I'm not prioritizing recovery today. Let's do it at another time. And if you're currently working with someone and it's not going anywhere, before blaming them for what is not happening, ask yourself, can I give more of myself to that person? Can I open a little bit more instead of jumping to the next shiny object? Because as human beings, normally what we do is like when we look for a partner, right? So we stay with someone and it's all beautiful for the first few months. And then all of a sudden you start noticing problems, but the problem have always been there. It's just that you had decided to shut them down because you didn't want to see them. And that shows you how incredibly powerful your brain is. The problems were always there. You actively decided to I'm not going to say that word. Actively decided not to look at them so you could stay with that person. After 6 months, your brain doesn't have the capacity any longer. So you see the fault of the person that you have been sharing the space with. And possibly you decide to move on to someone else. And it's the same thing when you're working with someone. If you don't give your 100%, if you don't open up, if you don't share, if you don't give yourself a chance to grow and get out of your disorder behaviors, however ingrained they may be, well, there is no point in jumping to the next professional or to the next coach or to the next program, because the problem is still there. And what these people are doing is allowing you to take the next step forward, but you are the one in charge of it. So if you resist it from day one, you can stay 6 months in a program and you're not going to see anything by the end of it. If you instead from day one, when you click the button, you commit to give your 100%, well, of course, you're going to feel the overwhelm in the first few days, because you know that your life is going to dramatically change and you don't know what's on the other side of the tunnel because you have not experienced that yet. So all your brain knows is what happened in the past, which is the anxiety, the overwhelm, too many things. Help. But if you go through that first stage, then you finally have the opportunity to heal once and for all.
Yeah.
Did I waffle too much?
No, it was very powerful, and I love everything that you said. And as you said so beautifully, it's sort of it. Your coach can only be as good as the client participating in the coaching itself. You know, like there's so many good coaches and therapists and doctors and specialists and like all different kinds of professions. But even if you think about your willingness to accurately, just like if you're going to a GP, like let's take HA out of it, and you're going to a GP saying, oh, I just feel yuck. And the GP's like, oh, okay, tell me more. No, I just feel yuck. I just want to feel better. And where does the GP start? Because it's like, but is your stomach yuck? Is your eyes yuck? Is it your nose? Like, can you give me a little bit more? And the more information you feed your GP, the more they can sort of narrow things down and go, oh, perhaps we need some of this. Maybe we need to test that. And then you might go back and come back with some new information, and then they can explore it and change some things some more. And then it could take a couple of appointments, but they finally know exactly what yuck means and how to not make you feel yuck anymore. But if you were to see the exact same GP and come in and go, oh goodness, I'm feeling really off, my stomach's curdling and I'm not sleeping well and I'm and you come in with literally everything laid out on a mat as what's going on, they still might not be able to fix the problem in that one session. But with all the information you've given them, they can at least have a really good observation and conversation with you to work out how to at least have you feeling a little bit better by the time your appointment ends, even if that's just knowing that you've got a plan. And I feel like when you speak to a therapist, a coach, a practitioner, it's the same thing. If you're going in there just nodding your head going, yeah, it's very difficult to allow them space to help. Or if you can even, I know some of the feedback I get is, but I just don't even know where to start. It's like, and you know what? Those words are the perfect start. Yeah. Because you've made it very clear to that person, all right, they've got a lot going on. They've got so much going on that they're not even sure what the biggest issue is, because there's lots of issues. And sometimes it literally is, you just need one thread to lightly tug on and things will start to unravel. And if you can offer that to whoever the professional is that you're working with in all calibers of life, they just need that link to help you and to start moving the ball. And sometimes if you don't know what to say, because that's some feedback I get on the mindset coaching side of things of, I think I want to see you, Jay, but I don't know what to say. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. You tell me a little bit about you and then I ask questions.
She's going to make you talk, don't worry.
And then I just ask questions and then we just go on this journey together. But I don't know what you're going to say. You don't know what I'm going to ask, but that's the beauty of it, because we explore together. And now I feel very passionate about the asking for help thing, because especially given what happened in the last 24, 48 hours, and I realized how much I freaked out. And it's so transferable to some of the women we talked to, Claudia. And even I love that you mentioned earlier about the cancelling of appointments or a reschedule. And ladies, if you're listening to this and you've booked in with someone and then you cancelled because you got a bit freaked out, and then you maybe booked in again and then you cancelled because you got a bit freaked out, please just book in that once more and just have a chat. Like, I hope that your inability to commit previously doesn't hold you back from committing in the future, because the people who care about you most really just want to help you through this. And be cautious of your thoughts. If you do book in with someone and they happen to last minute reschedule because life happens, it's not a sign that you don't need help. Because we can tell ourselves those things too. Oh, see, this is a sign. It's a sign. The appointment got cancelled. I'm not meant to talk to this person. And it's just not the case. If you've got that instinct that talking to someone could really help, please go and talk to somebody.
Yeah. And I would like to say that when I have a free initial call with someone just to get to know them, I simply want to get to know them. 85% of the time, I don't even offer the help. I don't offer the follow-up. Do you want to come and join the program, or do you want to work with me one-on-one? First of all, I need to get to know the person that I'm talking to, and I want to feel 100% confident that I can help that person. But whenever we get to the end of the conversation, and I actually ask them the question, which kind of support do you think that you need at this stage? And their answer is, no, I just wanted to make sure that I was doing everything okay. Well, why did you book the call in first place, right? Go back to the moment that you booked the call, how you were feeling, and then answer that question again. Because if you book a free call with someone that can help you shortcut this part of your life, don't lose that momentum, because that's your chance, is the window of opportunity to make your life 95% easier. And that's also why I've stopped saying to women, come and join the program, like other people are doing, like 50% off and stuff like that. I don't do that any longer. We have no interest in women joining the program. We have a lot of interest of women deciding to invest in themselves so they can get their health and fertility back, and they can move forward in their life. Those women, they already knew how to get in contact with us. And if you're just waiting for a 50% discount, that's what you're telling your brain. You are not worth it. Your recovery is not worth it. Spending time on yourself is not worth it.
And how much time are you wasting waiting for that discount? Because it may or may not come, depending on who you're talking to, what you're doing. Like, this isn't even anything to do with our program, but the time that you're waiting for the right time, the right reason, the right sale, how much of your life are you missing out on waiting for that to happen, when perhaps you could just bite the bullet and just start learning how to live better, and taking that step? Because as you said, it is a self-worth situation when it comes to investing in your health and waiting for the sale, or waiting till I get a pay rise, or waiting till whatever it is that happens. And don't get me wrong, I completely understand financial stress, especially after the 2 years that we've all had in lockdowns and everything like that. And my previous job before starting all this, I worked in employment services. I was working with people who were literally poverty line. So I do understand those circumstances. But I am also understanding that a lot of women, they Google, they know the cost of things, they know the prices, and it might not be I can do this in the next 24 hours, but perhaps it is, I'm putting some money aside so that I can, because this is really important to me. How do I make it work? And having those action plans in place, rather than allowing yourself to believe, I can just never afford it. It's like, is that actually true?
Can I say two things?
Oh, yes, please do.
One is from the live that I had with Florence just last week. Florence, she's part of our program, and she got her period back in 5 months and a half. She said it in the very beginning. When I talked to you, Claudia, I thought that the program was too expensive. Once I joined the program, I thought that was the biggest bargain in my life. So, because before joining someone, you don't know what you're going to get. But she decided to trust your process, and look where she is now, right? We had women coming to us with 10, 15 years of without a period, getting it back in 7 weeks, 2 months,
pregnant.
3 months pregnant. Incredible results, because there is support, there is guidance, there are proven steps. We are matching scientific research with mindset work. And the two things combined are incredibly wonderful. And financial distress, as you said, is very real. And I found myself in that situation back in the days. If you really want to get better, you find a way.
Absolutely.
You can always say, I'm going to drink one less coffee every day for the next 7 days. I'm going to book in a free call with a coach, and I'm going to ask if they have a payment plan in place. Right? Because if you cannot spend $1,000, $10,000, $20,000 in 1 hour, that's fine. But can you pay $50 a week for a longer period of time? right? And I'm just pulling numbers out of a basket, but it's just to give an idea that not investing in your recovery is actually costing you so much money. I had this woman that she came to me, 3 rounds of failed IVF. And she then said,
that's like emotional turmoil, financial stress.
Yeah. She didn't see the value in working together because it was too expensive when she had already spent $30,000 on failed attempt, you know? So always ask yourself how much being sick is currently costing me, not only in terms of money, but time, relationship, friendship, and mental health.
Yeah, I really love what Florence said to you, which is that I thought it was expensive at the start, and then I started doing it and I thought it was a bargain, because I've never thought about this until you just said those words. And I guess investing in a program that isn't like a modulated course is a very different shopping experience. I'm saying that in quotation marks because it's a physical transaction. Because if you think about when we buy clothes, we physically see the clothes. Here it is, have it. Yeah. If you enroll into university, here's all your modules, here's your lectures, you see all this information, and then you're looking at investing in a program to restore your health, get your period back, fall pregnant, all these sorts of things. And it's not a tangible, it's you're trusting we have a system that will work for you. So I'm just thinking out loud here, but it's if you're trying to apply what you normally would to buy things, it doesn't work, because we're not looking at a physical thing. We're looking at literally changing your life and empowering you to have the desires and, you know, all the joys that you've ever wanted. And it's so interesting to me that, of course, that would be something that you see once in it.
Yeah. So 2 questions that someone needs to ask themselves. Do I need help? Yes. Do I need to know how to do it by myself without completely get overwhelmed and freak out? No. In that case, just book a free call and just have a conversation with someone that can really support you through this. It can be as simple as that. The rest is gonna come. I have this incredible belief that lives shape exactly as you want it to shape. And it has always worked out wonderfully for me, because I have this deep belief that if you want things to happen, they will happen. So I truly believe that if you're at the stage where you're thinking, gosh, I need help, yeah, pick the call, woman. No excuses. I mean, you must have spent the past 10 years, 6 months making excuses. So might as well try something different.
I love it. And I think that's a wonderful place for us to wrap up this conversation that I'm sure everyone is going to love listening to. And I'm going to have a listen to it again myself. But for now, Claudia, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us all about HA and investing in ourselves. And as always, if you want to contact Claudia or myself, I'll leave those beautiful details in the show notes. Claudia, you're absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jade, and see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening in on today's episode, guys. I hope you absolutely loved it. And while I'm so grateful to have you listening in and now watching the YouTube, that seems to be going up, I would love it if you could share the support and like the podcast or the YouTube, share it, comment, because all of that helps us reach a greater audience. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, is to support you through your HA recovery process and your ED recovery, and to all the other women out there going through similar experiences. So thanks again for being here, and I will see you in the next one.